Hey everybody, Dustin Dopirak here from the Knoxville News Sentinel with columnist John Adams. We're getting ready to leave Jacksonville, here still at the Marriott close by, after Tennessee's 45-28 win over Iowa in the Tax Slayer Bowl that used to be the Gator Bowl, so whatever you feel like calling that. But so Tennessee finishes their first winning season since 2009, got back in a bowl for the first time since 2010, won a bowl for the first time since January 1st, 2008. So John, I guess just to start, I mean, how are you going to kind of remember this team in terms of what they did, in terms of what this means for the program going forward?
Dustin, I think this team will be remembered differently depending on what happens from here on out. If this is the launching pad for a great run for Tennessee, I mean, this team will be regarded as the one that started everything.
Right.
And I think everybody's making comparisons to 1994, when Tennessee went on a great run. After that, a big bowl victory in Jacksonville. Well, it was actually Gainesville, but it was the Gator Bowl.
Right. Yeah, no, it could be that way. Certainly, the thing that stands out about this team is just what's coming after it. Obviously, the 2014 class of freshmen, top 5, I think, rated by rivals, top 10 by most sites. And coming forward after that, the 2015 class certainly hasn't been signed yet. But a couple 5-stars in there, also a class that looks like it's going to be top 5. Butch Jones says, guarantees it's going to be top 3. He was pretty bold about that yesterday in the press conference. As far as just how this team evolved, what do you think is just sort of the most promising pieces from what you saw from this team?
I think there are a couple of things stand out. One was Tennessee's effort all season long. Even when it was struggling and at its worst, I thought the team played hard. It wasn't lacking in effort. It never caved in, even in games where it was beaten, obviously. Oklahoma comes to mind early in the season. The other kind of the watershed moment, I thought, was the change of quarterbacks.
Right.
When Justin Morley was injured, Tennessee had to go to first Nathan Peterman, and then it went to Joshua Dobbs, and that's kind of where the offense took off.
Yeah. No, obviously Josh Dobbs was the game changer for this season. Worley, had gritty effort, was pretty effective, but Josh Dobbs pretty much transformed the offense and more or less transformed the team. How much does that change, I think, how you look at this team going forward? Certainly, when it was Worley and you weren't sure really what was back there, you knew they had Peterman and Dobbs, you weren't sure if it was going to be one of those guys or Quentin Dormady going forward. The fact that they're going to go into 2015 with an established quarterback who's won big games, how much do you think that changes the perception of this team and also how it's going to operate?
I think it changes everything, Dustin. I think even going after the win at South Carolina, the come from behind win, I think there was still questions in fans' minds if this is what Joshua Dobbs would actually be. I mean, there was a lot of concern among fans about his consistency or lack thereof. But I think you're going to see a player that gets more consistent as he gets more playing time, more practice time with the first team. He's the guy now. I mean, he doesn't have to compete. I know they say everybody competes, but not really. He's the quarterback. Yeah. You're not going to change quarterbacks between now and the season opens. So I think you'll see a more polished quarterback when the 2015 season opens.
Right. And beyond that, I mean, how much do you think it did to just establish an offensive identity for this group going forward in terms of how they're going to play?
Oh, very much so, because now you have a running threat at quarterback, which this offense severely needed. And you see the difference. He's such a threat. You saw it in the Gator Bowl. When he gets in the open field, he just always seems to know where to go, where to run. And he's got a really good feel for that. That changes everything with the offense. It changes everything, I think, with the offensive line.
Certainly. I guess looking at it defensively, they obviously have a big loss in A.J. Johnson, who certainly wasn't able to play because of the suspension. But, he's still a guy that's not going back going forward. They lose a couple other guys, Justin Coleman, Jordan Williams, but bring the rest of it back. Guys like Derek Barnett got a phenomenal freshman season. What do you see kind of from that group going forward? What do you think from this year plays well into next year?
Well, I think you have a lot of guys that are more comfortable in this scheme now and are playing with a lot more confidence. You saw that against Iowa. This was a really confident-looking team in this bowl game, and I think you'll see even more of that next season. And I think the next recruiting class, where it won't be a necessity that these guys come in and start right away, but they can provide depth. And so you'll see starters getting fewer game reps and being fresher at the end of the game and fresher at the end of the season.
Right. Last question, you mentioned the Iowa game, and how much does momentum matter? Just the fact that they got this game going into next season. They're going to be a team that gets talked about a lot more, certainly maybe as an SEC East contender, maybe not as the favorite, but a team that's sort of in that mix. And these guys certainly seem to feel a lot better going into this offseason maybe than we've seen.
I really think it does, Dustin. And I think you saw that in this game. I think Tennessee played, it looked like a team that had been successful. The way it went out and took care of that game right away. And I think you'll see that going forward next season. I think you'll see a team that will be comfortable in its new role, which would be as a division contender in the SEC.
All right, well that's it. That's the end. That's the end for Team 118. I guess they go forward. 2015, looking at situation seems a lot more promising than it appeared going into this year. So thanks everybody.